Namaste, welcome to the Influence Academy with myself Anusha. I and our entire Everest News team would like to express our immense gratitude to all our viewers for their support and feedbacks. Today I'm back with a new episode and I'm accompanied by such a personality who is an passionate educator, a researcher and a marketing enthusiast. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Ms. Anita Rijal to our show.
Namaste, I'm Anita Rijal. Yes, she has introduced me. I really don't have to talk about that, right?
So how are you, ma'am?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. And as you know, the world is dealing with this crippling pandemic. So how are you dealing with this currently?
Nothing had changed for me because my study is going on. I'm a research student in Australia. Nothing had changed. I'm studying, sometimes working from home. But yes, the transportation, communication with other people, especially face-to-face, had changed a lot. Now we talk via Zoom call, Skype most of the time, and Facebook also. Yeah, those are the changes that has come, I think, I would say, in everyone's life, and same with me. Yep.
Okay. An international student faces various challenges here in Australia. Those challenges may be collecting fees, or the fact that they cannot work more than 20 hours a week. So did you face any similar challenges when you were a beginner here in Australia?
Yes, definitely. I'm one of them. I'm still one of them, I would say. The difference, I would say, me and other bachelor's, diploma or master by coursework student would be, I have to study a lot, like 8 to 10 years every day, because it's research intensive study, and I have to give my most valuable time of the day, 8 to 10 hours in my study, and I hardly would have time to work. And I'm pretty sure that's the same case with everyone else, because they have to do their assignments, submit on time, and attend classes and find jobs, look for a job. It's really tough to find a job in Australia, and I need to admit that it was the same case with me. Looking for a job was difficult task. I think when I came to Australia in 2019, I didn't work for 5 to 6 months wondering, I think the job will land on me and it would be pretty much easy, but that didn't happen now.
So it was pretty difficult for you as well?
Yes, it was difficult. And then, yeah, everyone learns their lesson and try to cope up. Yeah, and then I did that too.
Okay, so you completed your studies and recently you're conducting a research. So can you please tell us more about your research?
Okay, sorry to say I did not complete my study.
Okay.
So research is part of my study. I'm studying Master by Research at Charles Darwin University. And my research is all about Nepalese students' experience with consultancy services in Australia. So that's my study. So I don't have to go to colleges for regular studies like other students. I just have to sit on a chair and a desk and there's a computer. So I talk with my computer, I write, I type, read. So that's all me and my computer, I would say. And my supervisor, yeah, and helping me out with my research.
So what are your objectives of your research?
Firstly, I would tell what is my research about, okay. Right? Okay. My research wants to know, like I said, wants to know Nepalese students' experience with consultancy services, which they undertook when they were in Nepal, and then after they came to Australia, what did they find, especially regarding education agent, I would say, in terms of consultancy, so their services. So I want to know the experience individually, you know, what is their experience, especially those students who are at the moment studying in Australian institutions, okay, across the Australia. Yeah.
Apart from students, anybody else would benefit from your research?
Of course, that would be. Otherwise, maybe I wouldn't be allowed to do the research. The primary benefit would be to Nepalese students, of course, and also maybe to other international students if the policymakers of Australian government would be interested in exploring and also maybe revising the policy that monitors education agent. Second part, right, the second benefactor of my study. The third benefactor would be ultimately education agent, because without any doubt, I can say education agent has been a great help in recruiting Nepalese students or international students in Australia. They help us find a perfect, I would say not perfect, a suitable education provider and the program that we want to study, right? Having said that, there are some loopholes. Yes, definitely there are some loopholes. So if my findings would reach out to them, it would be a great insight for them to improve their services, and that would benefit all these three key players of international student market, you know, Nepalese students, education agent, and Australian government as a whole. Yeah.
Education consultancies help students to sort out necessary documents to apply to university and colleges. Minimum 70% of the admissions are done through the agents. There are good education consultancies who help the students wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
However, there are some fraudulent cases who would give wrong counseling to the students and for their own benefits. How can an international student protect themselves from those scams or from those fraudulent agents?
That's an interesting question, by the way. I will go to what you said in the beginning, okay? Yes, education agents have been a great help. There's no doubt about that. Yes, there are some bad agents, some good agents, some excellent agents, no doubt. That's not my saying, okay? That's the saying from the literature review and articles, news articles that I've gone through within these few months. This is the literature speaking, not me. And in that context, you said 70% of students come from education agent, not just 70%. In Nepalese case, I would say more than 80%. They are highly dependent on education agent.
70%.
Yeah, so that's more than 80%. They're dependent on education agent services. So that's what the research shows. The earlier research in different fields shows that.
So how can an international student protect themselves?
All right, yeah. Coming to that question, it's really important, right? Most of the people or the research in the past has demonstrated that, and their findings has also demonstrated, if students want to know, right, about the program or the university, it's really important to dig out more information from their website. We live in this 21st century where we have access to phone. It's just one click away from your computer to find the website and the information that you need, right? So in that case, I would suggest, and the research in the past has suggested, especially the students, they have suggested to look out for more information in the website, and also sometime confirm those information with the education provider directly.
As you know, in Australia, the education industry is the third biggest export, earning approximately 30 to 40 billion revenue.
Yeah.
And as it is the most important industry, Australia has something like something called an ESOS Act, Education Service for Overseas Students, which acts as a legal framework governing the delivery of education to international students in Australia on a student visa. So do you think there is any need for a change in current ESOS Act? So what are your views on it?
That's again an interesting question. I would love to talk about that. Yes, there is ESOS Act, right? That was, I think, that came in 2000, yeah, ESOS Act 2000. The main objective of ESOS Act is to govern, like you said, to govern international education market, especially, I would say. It's a legislation which controls international education in Australia. I wouldn't say control, but then, yeah, monitors international education in Australia. My findings, not my research finding, but the findings from the literature review and the past research conducted in Australian monitoring policies, that's the recent article that I found, was done by Nikula. So that's an author who researched in understanding Australian monitoring policy. So what he says is there's a big loophole in ESOS Act because they do not directly monitor any education agent. They only monitor their education provider in Australia, of course. What they do in order to protect the interest of international students is they have some written down policies for education agent. They do. No doubt they have this policy, but they do not monitor education agent directly. So what ESOS Act says is it's the education provider's responsibility to monitor, observe education agents' performance and behavior. And there is, I would like to go a little bit deeper into ESOS Act. So there is a National Code of Practice. So the National Code of Practice 2018 says, just like what I said before, it's a policy actually. It's a policy that governs education provider and has some laid down policies for education agent and some rules and also rights of international students. It does talk about that. In National Code of Practice 2018, there are 11 standards, and among them is standard 4, which specifically deals with education agents. So now it talks further about what education agent can do, what they shouldn't be doing in terms of providing accurate information, and also need to have a written contract with the education provider, and in case of non-compliance with those contracts, the education provider can terminate the contract. That's what it says comprehensively, yeah.
In your experience, have you ever known of a breach in ESOS Act?
Oh wow, no. So how it works is we don't get the information about that. So if anyone can Google ESOS Act. If you type ESOS Act ACT 2000 in website, you can actually find out all the information. Now, if any student breaches, right, they actually do not breach ESOS Act. They are obliged with a different policy, right? We normally, I would say international students, they have this student visa, right? They need to comply with student visa. So in the breach of those student visa, they have different policy, and I'm not going to talk about that because that's not something I cover, right? I'm concerned with the direct linkage between student and education agent. So that's something I would say goes to common ombudsman, complaining department under Department of Education and Training. I'm not quite sure, but there's common ombudsman which looks after the complaints of international students. And under there is overseas ombudsman. There's this specific department which looks after international students' complaints and then deal with that.
Your research is to understand the impact of education agent services on Nepalese students' study experiences in Australia. So what are your objectives of your research?
You actually said just now, that's my objective, to understand. First of all, there are two questions that I want to address with this research. The first question is, what does Nepalese students think about education agent services? When I say that, not just literal perception, I'm talking about in terms of what services they received, right, when they were in Nepal, what type of services, maybe application services or with the visa application, or sometimes they are also helped with preparing financial documents. So those sort of services, so what is their first perception? That's the first stage. And the second stage is, yes, from there on, I invite people for an interview. That's something we will talk in a while, okay? The second question is to understand how those services that they receive from their consultancy in Nepal, how did that impact them? Could be positive or negative. I'm just interested in any of the experiences they have. Yeah, those are the objectives.
Okay, so how will it impact the policymakers, or how will it impact the government?
Like we talked in the beginning, right? One of the benefactors of my research, I am assuming, would be also the policymaker. So how it works in research is we cannot directly ask government to change the policy for us out of nowhere. We need some basic, strong research data collection also to put an impact, little bit of impact that, see, this is an important aspect, right? And it needs to be addressed. There are a lot of problems, of course there are a lot of problems. We need to find the problems, and it needs to be addressed by the Australian government if they're interested. So if I have this thesis ready, I will have a presentation, and if I can get in contact with the Australian government or the policymakers, then we can, or I would of course suggest them some changes that they could make, because it provides an insight what's going on, between Nepalese students and education agencies.
How are you collecting your data?
Yeah, very important question. Thank you for asking that question. There are two stages, because there are two questions I said before. So the first stage is I will be collecting data via online survey, and I have been doing that since, I would say, 3 months. I've been posting my survey link in different Facebook pages like Nepalese in Sydney, Nepalese in Perth, Nepalese in Queensland. There are plenty, I would say 13, 15 Facebook pages. So I got in contact with them and started posting my survey link. And from therein, I have collected 150 responses already. It's a really good response. But then, having said that, I'm still looking forward to more responses, because the more responses I have, the more impact maybe we can have in the findings. That's the first stage. And from therein, if any of the participants are interested to participate in the second stage of my research, that is online interview, then what I do is invite them for an online interview, and then we sit there for half an hour to 45 minutes, and then I try and understand their individual experience with their own consultancy when they were in Nepal. Okay. So now what I'm doing is I'm still looking forward to a few Nepalese students who have had good experience or bad experience with their consultancy. I really do not mind any of the experiences, but I love to hear you out. So anyone who is listening to us at this moment, I would be grateful to you if you could take my survey and then interview, because we want to help out future Nepalese students who are planning to come to Australia. Right, that would benefit them, and they would be thankful to us maybe someday. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you will be conducting the interviews online as well, the students who are in Nepal as well?
No. My primary respondents, I would say participants, would be Nepalese students
in Australia.
Yeah. They must be a student. They must be studying in any of the Australian institutions, education provider. Across Australia. Could be maybe in Perth or Queensland or Alice Springs or Darwin or Sydney, it really doesn't matter. Anywhere you are, please take my survey.
Has COVID-19 affected your research?
Definitely, yes, right? Everyone has been affected by that. We started this conversation in the beginning, I remember. So you asking me, did that affect my work and study? Yes, I didn't talk about how it affected my research. Yes, it did affect. I was planning to launch my survey back in March. I think February, March, and then what happened, suddenly there was this COVID outbreak, and I thought that wouldn't be a good time to seek help when all the Nepalese are seeking help of each other. They all wanted support from each other. So I couldn't post my survey. I asked for help in regard to my survey. So I had to postpone that for 3 months. So that was in March, April, May, June. So in June I posted my survey, so I had to wait 3 months to do that. It affected. Now what happens is, because it affected in data collection, that means it will affect my study period also. I might have to extend my study period.
Anyways, you will be conducting interviews online.
Yes.
You will be conducting.
Yes. Earlier I had a plan to have this face-to-face interview. That would have been great, right?
Great, yeah.
But then because of this COVID, and there's this ethics committee, we have to go through ethics committee, and they said strictly you are not allowed to go for face-to-face interviews with the participants because of the risk that might have to them because of COVID, right? And then we had to address, and I thought, okay, the best way is to conduct online interviews. That way I can reach out to people across Australia, right? There are a lot of Nepali students studying across Australia. So yeah, that was a very good approach, I would say.
If possible, would you like to share your findings to our viewers?
Oh, okay. Since my data collection is still going on, right?
Yeah.
I'm still in the process. I'm still asking everyone else and requesting them to take my survey and then interview. So I cannot exactly say my findings because I haven't done any analysis. But like I said before, in the past, the research conducted by different researchers in the field of international students, education agent, it says that yes, there are some issues in relation to students, international students and education agent, and there is a big loophole, I would say, in monitoring policies also. So those are the findings basically, I would say.
Recently your 60-second Visualiser Thesis video was awarded People's Choice Award 2020. What was your overall experience achieving that award, and what is the competition really about?
Okay, so this is an interesting, was really fun. I really enjoyed that time. It was in August, right? We started, no, before that, July. So I would say, so this is Visualiser Thesis is a competition that runs across Australia and beyond Australia. This is an international competition targeted for research students. When I say research students, could be Master by Research, MPhil, PhD, doctorate. So there are different categories. So what we were supposed to do is we were supposed to concise our research aim, objective research program concept into 60 seconds video. So this research is going on, will be going for 2 years. So I have to concise 2 years of my study, understanding concepts into 60 seconds video. So it was a tough job, I would say. And yeah, coming up with the ideas of what to include in 60 seconds video was really tough. That's just 1 minute, and that 60 second would go with the blink of eye. So it was really tough. I came up with different ideas with the help of my supervisor. She was so helpful in coming up with the ideas that I finally finalized. And also I would add, at this platform, I think I would like to also thank the students of Charles Darwin University who helped me with the photos they provided me with. It was really nice photograph they have taken, and that actually told my story of Nepalese community. And yeah, it was a really good experience. So we had this competition among CDU students only.
CDU students.
Yes, and for this Visualiser Thesis, we were good number of students, and there were these 3 different position, I would say, winners title. The first title would win a sudden research grant. Right. There was second title and third. So mine was third title, that's People Choice Award, because people thought it was maybe worth it to conduct research in this field, that they voted for my research, that 60-second video. And then yeah, that's how I was awarded with this research, little bit of research grant for my study to go further with this. I was only the one in that competition from Nepalese community,
yes,
right?
Yes, that's the main thing. Yes.
Yeah, and there were, yeah.
I think when I looked into the profile, there was like 12 participants.
Yeah.
Where were they from?
Yeah, some of them were Australian, right? Australian. Some of them were Timor-Leste. Some of them, few of them were, yeah, from also India, right? So I would say we were a greatly diverse researcher from different countries. That's all I can say right now. And yeah, and among them was me representing Nepalese community. Yeah, it was wonderful. Everyone had this brilliant idea of why it's important, why they are doing different researches. Yeah, and by the way, when we say this competition, everyone has individual ideas of research. They have completely different research concept. They work in different fields.
What would you like to say to the students in Nepal, Nepalese students who are looking forward to come here in Australia, and Nepalese students who have recently arrived here in Australia?
My only request to all the Nepalese students, including myself, because I belong to the same community, my objective, yeah, is to conduct research, contribute to the society. I want everyone to be benefited from this research, right? My only request is please get as much skills, a lot of education and knowledge from this country, because that's what we need. We need to develop ourselves, get all the skills from wherever, whatever you get. It really doesn't matter. It's such a wonderful place, Australia, where people do not disregard which job you do, right? They respect all sorts of jobs, but whatever you do, learn one best skill from that job. That's something will help you to develop yourself. Do not get stuck with the same thing and learn nothing. That doesn't make sense, because you have already spent a lot of money in getting a best education in the world. That's why I assume that's why you are here in Australia. And the next question, right?
Who's looking forward to come here in Australia?
My suggestion for them, I would say, from the research that I've studied, they usually suggest, the participant in those research, they usually suggest to look for more information. Find a different type of course that instill the skills that you need for further job, rather than just getting a coursework, or I would say just theoretical knowledge. Try to focus on practical knowledge and skills, how it develops your skills. Look for information. It's there. Just go into Google, type what you want to learn. You can get that. Type where you want to go. Look for the colleges and university if you are willing to. But remember, if you are going to seek any help, professional help from anyone regarding the application service, a visa application, also do check, do some background check, and also talk to several other people about the quality of information that you receive from them. That will help you really. And also talk to your friends. I'm pretty sure you must have some friends, family in Australia, so you can directly talk to them how the life in Australia is. So don't just depend on one person. Try to talk to more people. That would be helpful.
So ma'am, we've come to the end of our program. Would you like to share your message to our viewers?
Yes, at this time I would take this grand opportunity, because this is a great platform for me to talk about my research, and also communicate with all the viewers who are viewing this interview, I would say, right? Please try and communicate with other fellow friends you have, Nepali students in Australia. If you want to participate, and I would say before than that, I would say please help me with my survey, because it's really important. We all are in this together to help future Nepalese students who want to come to Australia. We can be a best support for them. If you can share your experience with me, we will share the survey link and also the interview invitation link below this video. Yes. Right? Yeah. So you can copy that link into your browser and then participate in the survey. And if you have something else, once you do that, if you have more to speak to me, you can participate in an online interview that I'm conducting at the moment. Yes, please talk and spread the word among your friends. Thank you very much for listening to us.
Thank you so much, Anita ma'am, for gracing us with your presence today and sharing your insights. And we, Irish News team, would like to wish all the best for your future endeavors.
Thank you very much. Have a great day, everyone.
So with this note, we've come to the end of our today's episode. Stay updated in our Irish News social media pages. Stay influenced, take care, and above all, stay safe. Thank you.